Hey everybody, Brayden here, welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be continuing our Semi-Slav run. Okay, so they're playing knight c3 early. I think I'm going to play this with c6, just to prevent any knight b5, knight d5 stuff. So they're going to move there. Now we have to ask ourselves, does knight to e4 work here? I think it does. Maybe. Because we get a tempo on the knight. So knight e4, they take it, we take. They go knight g1 or knight d2. And then if they go knight d2, we can take. If they go knight to g1, then we can just develop kind of normally with like knight to d7 or bishop f5 or something. We could also just transpose into mainline openings with... Oh, we're not doing mainline openings because they don't have c4 in. I think knight e4 is very interesting here. That's a lot of the punishments in these Semi-Slav openings, so I just got to think about this for a second because I want to make sure I'm not overlooking anything. Knight e4, takes. We want to wait for e3 to win this bishop, so we're not winning the bishop or anything quite yet. Yeah, I like knight to e4 quite a bit. And then I want to go knight to d7. See if I can set up anything. So I think this is a promising move. Yeah, so knight to d2, we actually can just win this pawn. And that's why I wanted to go into this variation potentially. Because now we got the pawn, and hey, pawns are always nice to grab, so might as well. I'm thinking of either queen d5 or queen e5. Queen d5, there's no bishop c4 stuff anymore, so the best they could do is c4. But I actually want to go there instead. So if I go queen e5 and they go knight c4, all of a sudden I have to move my queen again. But if I go queen d5 and c4, queen e5, it's just a small thing, but it actually changes a lot. So I want to bring this guy to f6. Prevent any troubles there. Keep the pawn. And maybe they can win it back. Maybe. But that's the real thing here is can they win it back? And that's a big question to ask sometimes. So I'm thinking of queen a5. And the reason why is because I want to go bishop f5 and bishop g6 and just kind of relax. I could try queen e5, but I feel like the queen's just really awkward there, right? It might just get kicked around. And I want to make sure that I don't have to move my queen to the f5 square or anything. On the queen on a5 is quite safe after bishop to f5. I can always bring it back to e5 if I want, but I'm more interested in actually just finishing my development with e6. Even if they win the pawn back, I would rather be a little bit safer. e3 looks interesting. But I think rook d8 is probably the best move. Just attacking the knight. And, ooh, did they miss e3 now? Because all of a sudden e3 is attacking their queen. And they can't bring anything in between because then I can just take it and then take on g5. So I think e3 looks quite strong here. Let's play it. Knight b3 is interesting. I think we can just take on f2 and then take on c2 or something. Or we can just move our queen to like e5. Let's take on f2 to start, and let's go queen e5. And the reason why I'm playing like that... Wait, did I just blunder this bishop? I did. Okay, so this game is going to be all about trying to come back from a losing position. Okay, and the way we want to do that is by, first off, avoiding trades. So I'm going to play this move knight to d7 to start. And we're going to take on a potentially passive position to some extent in order to hold things down. So I'm going to play f6 and e5. Very good. Wow, that was bad. That's kind of funny, though. So no big deal. As long as it's funny, then everything's okay. So one of the biggest problems is this guy on b7. So I want to make sure that I can either defend it or something the best I can. So, I'm thinking of bishop to e7. This looks appropriate. And I'm trying to do something about shutting down some of their pieces. Like going g6, f5, and then e4 makes some sense here. I also wouldn't mind something like rook b8 if I need it. I want to be careful about something like rook b8 in case bishop a7, knight a5 stuff. So we have to be worried about that. So yeah, this is exactly what I mean. So if I go rook to b8 here, what are the chances that they go bishop a7? Luckily here, it's not really working out. I can go rook a8 and then repeat. So if we get a draw here, that's not actually the worst result. Yeah, so they might go for the repetition. I'm not sure. But we do have to repeat here. And now we can play this move bishop d8. And we can try to play on. There we go. So because of that, they don't have that option again. And so I'll just go bishop to c7. That's so annoying that happened, though. But that's okay. Everyone's going to get losing positions eventually. So it's better to know how to play them and how to react to getting a losing position instead of just sulking about it. So I don't really want to trade anything down. I want to keep things as complicated as possible. So my rook on b8 is doing a good job staying there. Instead, I'd rather play something like h5 and h4, trying to open up this h-rook. Because I want to activate things, but I just don't want to give activity for that activation. I could also go g6. And g6, the idea is to go f5 and potentially e4 again. Because if I can shut down this bishop, then that's just like one extra thing we got going for us. All right, so they're trying to get into our position here. That's very clever of them. Can we set up any traps? So if we go here, and then we go bishop to b6 or something. I don't think we have any traps, unfortunately. It might seem like we have to start accepting some trades. But I would really like to set up a trap. So knight e6, rook d7. My goal is to get some sort of like bishop b6 going. They probably should go c5, takes. And they have to take back because I'm threatening their rook. So takes. Oh, I actually have to be worried as well because they have rook d7 and then rook takes b7 with bishop takes c6 ideas. So there's a lot of tactics going on here that I have to be careful about. So unfortunately, I think maybe the best option is to allow one trade, but not another. So I'm going to allow one trade if they can get it, because I have to. And I was kind of hoping for that move there, because I was thinking after taking, I can go bishop to b6. So if they go bishop to e3, okay, and if they try this, then I still think bishop to e3 is quite reasonable. Also knight to d7 kind of has the same effect, but I think I'd rather play this one. Where I'm still trying here to hold on. They might have... Oh, they don't have bishop g7, luckily. So if I need to take and then take like this, that's okay. But I'm trying to keep tension in the position. And tension is where people make mistakes. Both sides. A winning position or a losing one. I could have also tried a5, but a3 doesn't really add anything there for me. Okay. I do think it's appropriate to take... now. And I have this funny idea here. of going g5. And my idea is I'm actually just trying to trap this guy. This guy on whatever square this is kind of stuck. So you can see a variation like this happen. Bishop h3, king e7, they trade, and then they allow some sort of, okay, let's go king here. And I'm threatening to take on c5, and their rook is attacked. So then they'll have to move away. So for example, if bishop h3, I can take on c5, and then I also have rook g8, rook g6 right after as a threat. So they did kind of see that. So I'm going to go here to start, because avoiding this threat is actually really important for me. And if bishop e4, okay, so I'm going to go here now. And I think that guy's trapped. I can just take like this. I don't think I'm missing anything either. It looks like we are, in fact, winning that that bishop. There we go. So this is a huge thing for us to have done. We went from a completely losing position all of a sudden to not just being like in the game, but potentially just better, because c5's hanging now, which I will take. And this position feels extremely good. The knight's covering our weakness here. I'm just going to retreat. Actually, I could go h5 as well. I think safer is retreating. I don't want to get too crazy right now. I'm still like in consolidation mode in my mind, but now we're not really consolidating. We're actually looking for that advantage. So I'm going to go king d6, and I'm going to slide my king over to c7 because this is a weak point and my knight's kind of tied to it. So I want to make sure that my knight isn't just stuck there for the whole game, and I would want to move it maybe to d4, or maybe I'm just going for b5. I think both are good options. B5 does look good. I also like knight e6. Let's start with knight e6. Okay. Now knight g5. Attacking the bishop. Seeing where it'll go. And I can go e4 here. And kind of shut that bishop out of the game now. It's no longer attacking these guys, and I can just look for some play with moves like b5. Yeah, I think we're quite happy here. Even if we give up this pawn, I think we're nearing a winning advantage now, which is really nice. So I'll just go king b6. And they can actually take, but the problem is I think after rook e7, they might be losing here, if I'm not mistaken. But we'll have to calculate the king and pawn ending. Okay, yeah, so this is definitely losing. My hope was they'd play rook h4, but rook h4 is its own set of rules and everything. So yeah, and that's how you win a losing position, or how you hold losing positions. Don't just give up if you lose a piece. I think that's very important. Even the strongest players, they can mess up. And I'm not calling myself one of the strongest players or anything. I'm just saying, like, yeah, even some really strong players mess up all the time. It's very normal. So I'll just go rook g7. We're a bit low on time, so I just want to make sure I'm not going a little crazy here. Just make sure I'm playing okay. Let's give this check. The king can't really hold on to everything. We'll just move up. Start advancing our pawns. They can go g6 if they want, but it doesn't really help them. Their king is stuck over on this side while I'm just pushing my pawns. One trick that they do have is this move, rook h5, where if I push, then they can play g6 and win my rook. Really funny idea, but it's a reasonable trick to try. They didn't see it, which is okay. I'll just move here, and b3 is coming. Or c3. I don't think it matters. I think b3 is more natural, though, because then it also trades off that guy. I think just king c6 here. Should be fine. My opponent is tricky, though, which is always a really good sign that they're a strong player. Finding resources in these types of positions is really important. Because it keeps your morale up, and it keeps the winning side's morale down. The more tricks you got, the more you can try to push, right? And kind of enforce mistakes. That's why keeping a lot of pieces on the board is so important. If you keep a lot of pieces on the board, even if you are winning or anything, it forces the other side's job to be much more difficult. So 34 seconds, we have more than enough time to win. We'll just keep this pawn and bring the knight down, bring it to f6, and there we go. Now we can just start pushing. I'm going to push all the way here, make sure there's no stalemates or anything when I promote, and then we'll be good. Yeah, I don't see any stalemates. They have e4, and then we can just give these checks all the way up the board to win the game. Good stuff. And since the ladder mate is with all checks, then we know it will end in checkmate, and we don't have to worry here. Awesome. So yeah, we made some pretty bad mistakes, but then we also came back in a really interesting way, which again is very important. Again. But yeah, just remember, one of the things I did wrong here was I kind of checked out in a position that I should not have checked out in. I saw this move e3, and I was like super excited, but I should have seen that queen e5 is actually not a move here. I have to take on c2, and I did not do that. So instead, if I want to play something, I should play queen e5 here. And there is actually a big difference, because now we're ready to take, and we also maintain this idea of taking on f2 and moves like knight e4, which is what I was hoping for. So yeah, a huge mistake and blunder on my part, and as we can see, completely losing. So all we really did here was we just tried to force them to convert. And what you want to do as the side trying to hold things together is there's two options. Positions where you are maybe in something like this, you can do one of two things. Try to pick off as many pawns and pieces as you can, whatever they give you, and try to keep as many pieces on the board. That rule of keeping as many pieces on the board as possible is kind of almost always relevant, even if you have to take on more concessions as a result, because the more complicated, the more likely your opponent could make a mistake. And that's exactly what you want. You're playing hope chess because you have to play hope chess if you're losing. So even if you only have like one move in it, to like a mate and one threat or whatever, and that's all you can do before, like, you know, because you're down like a queen and like a rook and everything, and there's no way to come back, and that's all you got, do it anyways, right? You have to play hope chess in some of these situations. And then another way is to look for ways to just slightly improve and hopefully come back. Like, if generally when we're looking at winning or losing positions, we're talking about things in terms of material imbalances, and here we have a pawn for a piece, which is a significant disadvantage for us. However, if we can just make some of their pieces slightly awkward, that could go a long way for us, and that's exactly what happened in this game. Is we saw that their bishop on h6 was a little weird. They were trying a little too hard to press in ways they didn't really need to, and because of that, they made their job harder and ended up actually losing the game. So going through things here, they could have gone for repetition with bishop a7, and we would kind of be obliged to accept here. Otherwise, we lose the b7 pawn, and that's just no good. But yeah, even here, they do have moves to to win, and it's not like we aren't aware of that. Like knight takes c6 should work here, but the thing is, even though these moves work, we have to recognize, okay, they have to find them in the first place, and it's their duty to find those wins, and it's just our duty to hold on the best we can. And the whole point here is that after bishop takes, they just win the piece back and 2 extra pawns, and that's resignable territory for sure. But because, you know, there's still a few pieces on the board and there's a lot of pawns on the board, it's worth playing on just a little bit. So, yeah, I thought this move knight d7 was reasonable, playing g6 for like f5, e4 stuff. Bishop h6 did make sense, and of course all of these moves are still winning for white, but especially at this point, bishop b6, b4 kind of strikes me as weird, because really what they should be doing is just centralize your pieces, right? You have an extra bishop, so make it do something. And it doesn't have to do anything super special. It can just kind of be, you know, out there and chilling. But as long as it's chilling and like not awful, then your advantage will just be easier to convert. So as we can see here, what ended up happening is after g5, all of a sudden that bishop's trapped and their advantage is getting lower and lower. And that's just because they're not as concerned about the mobility of their pieces. And I was talking actually about a potential trick that might have happened, bishop h3, where they take, and let's just say like rook d6, which I think wouldn't be the smartest idea. If we could ever get some sort of like rook g8, rook g6 going on, then we would be okay. Of course, again, they still have so many winning ideas here to be fine. But that's why I was actually also happy with rook d6 immediately, because now after king to e7 and bishop to h3, we can take on c5 and they have to move away all of a sudden. If they go here, then we can just go rook to g8 and they're actually kind of stuck. They're losing a piece here, either the rook or the bishop, and then we're back in the same scenario as in the game. So rook d1, rook g6, they're of course fine after something like bishop e4, but of course you have to be accurate here, and that's kind of the problem. Is if you have to be accurate in these types of positions, of course the trick I was trying to set up here as well is if they take, then we have this move, rook to h8, which again wins one of the bishops. So all of a sudden we have so many tricks in the position, and that's just because they misplaced one of their pieces. So that's what it's about. That's how you can come back from losing positions. Just pose practical problems, look for their worst piece, and try to play against that piece. Sometimes you might win it. Sometimes you just can collect a bunch of pawns. Sometimes there's nothing to do but just what some may say rock the boat. As in, you're going to make your position much worse with the hopeful chance that it might get better. Of course, the likelihood is that it's losing. But, of course, a really stupid move here for me would be something like rook to d8. Because all of a sudden after rook to d8, I'm just like letting them get out for no reason. This is one of those mistakes you want to avoid. And you can avoid them just by keeping pieces on. So anyways, that's it. Just to simplify or summarize, keep pieces on, keep things complicated, and try to play against whatever weakness they have and create random threats and play hope chess. That's all you can do in these types of positions. So that's about it. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.